say, an embarrassing topic or even a funny topic, but quite frankly, it is an important topic, and your sexual health very much represents your overall health. Now, many people that go on a carnivore diet note significant improvements in both sexual function, libido, fertility, so on and so forth.
That is entirely made up. You can find, again, you can look at carnivore cringe on Instagram. You'll see a lot of women complaining about their vagina stinking to high heaven after going on the carnivore diet. And you'll see quite a lot of dudes complaining about hypogonadal symptoms and erectile dysfunction. He tested his testosterone after he was on the carnivore diet for a while, and he was hypogonadal. I think his total testosterone was in like the 200s or something, if not lower. It was rock bottom low. And you'll see this across the board. Tons of people on the carnivore diet end up having hypogonadism. Paul Saladino, when he was on the carnivore diet, he said his testosterone was really low. He was feeling tired all the time, bad mood, low libido, all the hypogonadal symptoms. So he's just making this up.
And why that may be, it is often due to general improvements in overall metabolic health. I think that's a significant component of that. Also, we see sometimes a greater level of production of hormones. Now, remember, our hormone function is dependent upon not only the amounts of hormones circulating, but also the receptor sensitivity. So you can't just pin it down to my testosterone or estrogen or whatever it is went up or down. We have to look at the whole picture together. So if
androgen receptor sensitivity goes up when you have more androgens. So, that's just stupid. That's why steroids work so well. Androgen receptors upregulate when you take steroids.
If you've experienced improvements in your, quality of your sexual health on a carnivore, low-carb, or ketogenic diet, comment below. I will also say that some folks that either undereat or don't improve their metabolic health may not see those results. So I think it's predicated on eating.
He just makes shit up.
So my nigga Trump out here making.
And public enemy number one. Now this is based upon the people.
Oh my God.
That basically want us to eat bugs and soybean gruel for the rest of our lives. This is, the folks that are involved in what's called the Eat Lancet Commission. Now, these are the people that have developed the so-called diet for planetary health, which is basically pseudo-vegetarian diet where you're allowed to eat something like 2 eggs a week and a few molecules of red meat. It's some ridiculous diet. And it's interesting. Myself was named as number 1 in the top 20 or 25. And in that list include other folks that you may know, like Nina Tykholz, Ken Berry, Frederick Lavoie. This is, a little bit disturbing. Now, for instance, some of you guys remember I've had sort of people that are critical of my nutritional beliefs saying that I should be thrown in jail. We have an example of Dr. Joel Furman a few years ago on a particular podcast saying that I should be put in jail because I'm telling people to eat meat.
I mean, you're getting a lot of bad information that's killing people, and those people should be put in jail. Shawn Baker, you need to be put in jail. That's right.
We've seen a debate I had with a particularly unhinged, wacko vegan screaming that she's going to be the one that puts me in jail.
She literally just bodied him in that debate. She got him to concede that his position is irrational.
You're advocating because I'm not willing to change my position. I should be jailed.
You should be in jail, and I will be the reason for that being illegal speciesism.
Yeah, so she said, so he's taking this completely out of context. She said he should be in jail for killing animals. And obviously, from a vegan perspective, we believe animals should have the same rights as human beings if they were to be trade equalized. He conceded that his position was irrational and her position was superior. It was the rational position. So what is he complaining about? You admitted her position is at least more correct than yours. He's such an idiot.
So just like racism towards animals, not being vegan is not okay, and Shawn Baker is an animal user.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And, while I kind of don't really take these threats too seriously, we have to realize that, when people start painting you as this evil villain, disinformation, misinformation specialists that deserve to be put in jail. And some people will act on that. And we've seen that recently with some of the stuff that's been going on in the news. And I won't go into that in detail, but it's safe to say it's somewhat of a disturbing trend. What I've been trying to do, and in many ways I've been successful at it, is basically help people with their health, help people overcome disease, get healthy. I'm a huge believer in eating whole, nutritious food. I obviously lean towards meat as the main sort of thing. I don't sit there and say everybody needs to be on a carnivore diet, but I think it can be very useful for many, many people, and it has been. And so I'm obviously big on exercise and sleep, all these things that most people would agree with, I think. But the fact that you have this group that wants to come out there and say, this is the only way that we will accept that you will eat this pseudo-vegan vegetarian diet and you will be happy about it. Remember, these people are funded by groups like the World Economic Forum and some of the actors that are around that. Perhaps some people would say less than pure motivations, right? So these are things we're having to deal with, and they have a lot of power behind that. And, they, in many ways manipulate the media. They manipulate even some of the science. And so we have to deal with that. So it's something that's, kind of interesting and disturbing. My friend, Frederick Leroy, who's a scientist out of Belgium, has written some of this stuff. And what he discovered was that, the reason they're doing this is back in, 2020 or so, 2019, when they tried to push this Eat Lancet diet on the planet, it was resoundingly shut down as something that would be nutrient deficient. They lost the public battle in large part due to folks like myself and others that were saying this is just not acceptable. This is not what we're going to do. So they're getting ready to roll out their second version. And so what they're trying to do is in advance smear all of us that would be critical of that, so that our voices are somehow discounted as these crackpot crazies that don't know what they're talking about, conspiracy theorists, and so on and so forth. That's not the first time I've been sort of had to overcome stuff like that. And so what we'll see is an attack on freedom of speech in some regards around this stuff. You will see people being shadow banned and their voices being muted and muffled. That's something I've dealt with for honestly a decade now. It's sometimes a little frustrating when you see other messages being amplified. If you're out there selling the garbage junk food, you get promoted with a lot of force behind it when you're trying to do the right thing. So this is something that we need to fight back against. Also, some of you have said that this is something you should be proud of. Being named on the top of the enemies list for these people that have this goal of having us all eating bugs and soybean slop. And I'm certainly happy that I've made a difference, but at the same time, it's a little bit disconcerting to think that there are people that are targeting you. How far they're being willing to take that is unknown, particularly in this day and age. So I'm not going to be silenced. I'm going to continue to speak what I feel is the truth, and hopefully we can have a scientific and adult-like discussion around this. And if you disagree, you're welcome to disagree, but the results are what they are. I mean, what I'm talking about has gotten a lot of people results, and I'm sure you folks that are watching this, and I'm sure I believe there'll be comments around this saying that we are helping people, and I think that's at the end of the day.
Yeah, they removed Chase Iron's YouTube channel. I'm not entirely sure why. Thanks for...
I personally don't care what you eat, as far as that's concerned. That's, obviously the major area of contention around me. I like, as a physician, and remember, this is what my profession, is, and why I went into medical school was to help people get healthy. And if you get there through X, Y, or Z diet, it doesn't really matter. It just matters that you get healthy. And the fact that we find these diets that seem to be very efficacious, and a lot of people want to shut that down because it detracts from their ability to profiteer off of your illness. These drug companies and some of these hospital systems, they like you being dependent upon this. First of all, I think it's important that you share our messages. If you like what we're saying, share our messages that we put out there on social media. That goes for myself and many of the other folks that, I'm trying to get these messages out there. Also, if any way you can support what we're doing. Like I said, and I've mentioned this, and I know some of you guys are probably tired of hearing about this, but this is, kind of my life's work at this point. Our company, Rivero, we are reversing people's disease. We're taking care of their metabolic health. We're doing it in a way that is not only helping people tremendously for sometimes the first time in their life, but it's also, doing it in a much more economical way than the drug system is. That basically we have this pharmaceutical oligarchy that kind of runs healthcare throughout the world, and we are deviating from that, which is obviously making some people unhappy. If you know patients or people that you think could benefit, please send them our way. We'd love to help them. And additionally, we're right now doing a funding push so that we can expand the company. If that interests you as well, if you're interested in having a stake ownership in what we're doing, check it out. Via our Republic campaign that'll be going on for the next.
Yeah, still a fucking idiot.